first thought that I had was just a retreat on prayer. Just talking about prayer and talking about living a life dedicated to the Lord and learning new methods of prayer. I think as Catholics sometimes we, is it better for saying that? Thank you. We tend to sort of fall into go to Mass on Sunday and maybe like, Our Father, Hail Mary, glory be before you go to bed. St. Paul says pray without ceasing, which is actually like probably a couple of steps above Mass on Sunday and Our Father, Hail Mary, glory be before you go to bed. But it can be really hard, right? Like, you learn to pray as a child, and you learn those memorized prayers, and then most of us probably didn't go to Catholic high school or Catholic college. Most of us probably haven't had spiritual directors. We're not really learning different styles of prayer that correspond to who we are as people. One of the beautiful things, and the many beautiful things about being Catholic, is that there is no one way of being Catholic, right? You know, people talk about cafeteria Catholicism, that you're like picking the doctrines you want. I'm a big fan of cafeteria Catholicism if the tray is orthodoxy. And so you believe everything the Catholic Church teaches, and then you're like, I'm going to do some Lectio Divina, I'm going to do some Liturgy of the Hours, I'm going to do a little bit of like praise and worship music. I'm not a huge fan of the Latin Mass, so like I'm going to leave that over there. There are so many different ways of being Catholic, so many styles of prayer, so many types of people. And I think we're very blessed, because in Protestant denominations it tends to be like one approach to prayer, whereas the Catholic Church recognizes people are just going to pray differently, right? Like maybe, you know, people sometimes will say, I really admire the way that you pray out loud, like the way that you talk to God. And I'm like, it's just because I'm good at talking. Like, it's not anything special about like a heart that I have for, you know, people say, I'm so impressed at how you read the Bible. And I'm like, I just really like books, you know? Like, those are ways that I like to pray because that's what's suited to the way that God formed my heart. You might be a very imaginative person, which is Ignatian meditation is good for you. You might be a very quiet person with a very still heart, and so contemplative prayer might come very easily to you. And so it's a matter of exploring different ways of praying within the Catholic tradition and seeing how God is working in your heart and the things that you're best suited for. So today we're going to spend some time praying in various different ways and sort of getting a taste for different styles of prayer in the hopes that maybe we can step up our game. For those of us for whom prayer is maybe a more shallow thing, to explore different ways of encountering the Lord and try and experience Him in a deeper way. The first thing we're going to do this morning is the Liturgy of the Hours. Anybody pray the Liturgy of the Hours before? A couple of us. Awesome. The Liturgy of the Hours is the prayer of the Church. So this is one of 4 volumes. It's prayed by every priest, deacon, and religious in the world every day. Lay people are also invited to pray, but it is required of priests, of ordained and consecrated people. And it is called the Liturgy of the Hours because it's prayed different prayers at different hours. If you pray the full office, you pray 7 times a day. It's not 7 entire hours, but it's 7 times a day. And it's a beautiful thing because these are set for specific times of the day. And what happens is your life becomes formed around prayer. Right? Prayer punctuates your day, and I pray 4 of the hours. And so I have to pray in the morning, I have to pray in the evening, and I have to pray at night. And sometimes it's super awkward. I'm over at somebody's house from like 3 till 10, and I have to say to them, sorry, can I duck into a room somewhere? I have to pray evening prayer. Or I say, hey, I have to pray evening prayer. Do you guys want to join me? And I end up instructing people. But prayer isn't something that you can just hold off until right before you go to sleep. It's something that happens throughout your day. And it's fairly simple. You can get a free app online and like just read through the whole thing. So when I was learning to pray evening prayer, or pray the Liturgy of the Hours, so I was a super nerd. When I was like 15 years old, there was this kid on the bus. At normal school, kids on the bus were like making out and getting high, and I was on the bus learning how to pray the Liturgy of the Hours from John Moore. There's like all this flipping you have to do, and you have to know the number of the week, and you have to know which ribbon we're on, and if it's Lent, then you have to go back here, and then when you get to the Magnificat, you're like, you can download the app, Ivory, and just read straight through the whole thing. You don't even have to scroll back up to just read it. So that's pretty exciting.
That's why Christian prayer is good too. Because Christian prayer is the one single volume of
There's a lot of flipping then too, especially when you're not in ordinary time, or if you've got a feast day and like maybe you forget that it's a feast day, or you don't know is it a first class or a second class. But you're right. Christian prayer is just the one volume, so it doesn't have the office of readings. The office of readings is my favorite. The office of readings has like a reading from the saint for the day, or today I haven't done office of readings yesterday, but today there's a reading from Exodus and a reading from St. Ambrose from the treatise on flight from the world. So that's cool. It exposes you to the church fathers and to some church councils and to some saints, and so that's really beautiful. But anytime I'm on a plane, it pretty much spans 2 liturgical seasons, and so I have to bring 2 books this size in my carry-on bag. So it's really nice when you have the app, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get serious because the app stopped working in my phone. Now I'm back to the book, and I'm like really upset about it. And June's like, remember when I carried the cross? And I'm like, this is how Jesus talks to me, because he likes me particularly much. So you don't mess around. So we're going to pray this together. The Liturgy of the Hours is primarily composed of psalms, but it also has other scriptural texts in there. So this is going to be side 1, and this is going to be side 2. And what we'll do, I'll read the antiphon, and then side 1, side 2, side 1, side 2. At the end of each psalm, we pray, glory to the Father, not glory be, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. And some of you will say, and ever shall be, world without oops. And that's okay. We might laugh a little bit, not a lot. And then I'll say the psalm prayer, and we'll all together read the antiphon the second time. Okay? And then I'll read the antiphon. We'll alternate back and forth. Glory to the Father, and then I'll read the antiphon. Okay? Does anyone want to do our readings from Isaiah? Right here? What's your name?
Joe.
Joe, how you doing? Joe's going to do our reading with the responsory. I'll read the first line, you read the second. I'll read the first, you read the second. I'll read the first, you read the second. The Canticle of Zechariah we'll all read together. And then at the end, just like anytime you see this, I'll read the first time and you read the little red line coming out the bottom. It can be difficult sometimes to pay attention to what's going on in the Liturgy of the Hours the first few times that you pray it, because you're like, wait, what do I do? And it's that you're freaking out, so stop talking. But I wanted you to experience, to start the day, the prayer of the church. And to know that this is a good practice to get into, especially during Lent. And you don't have to do all 7 hours. I don't do all 7 hours. But you could do like morning prayer and night prayer. Something like that. Any questions before we start? Yeah. No. Yeah. God, come to my assistance.
Lord, make haste to help me. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen.
As morning breaks, we sing of your mercy, Lord, and night will find us behind you today. It is good to give thanks to the Lord, to make music to your name, O Most High,
To proclaim your love in the morning, and your truth in the watches of the night.
on the 10-stringed lyre and the lute,
With the murmuring sound of the harp.
Your deeds, O Lord, have made me glad. For the works of your hands I shout with joy. O Lord, how great are your works! How deep are your designs! The foolish man cannot know this, and the fool cannot understand.
though the wicked spring up like grass,
And all who do evil thrive. They are doomed to be eternally destroyed. But you, Lord, are eternally on high. See how your enemies perish. All doers of evil are scattered.
To me you give the wild ox of strength. You anoint me with the purest oil. My eyes looked in triumph on my foes. My tears did gladly of their faith. That just will flourish like the palm trees, and grow like a Lebanon cedar.
planted in the
House of the Lord, will flourish in the courts of our God. for the Lord is just. In him my rock, there is no wrong.
Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit,
As it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen.
Take our shame away from us, Lord, and make us rejoice in your saving works. May all who have been chosen by your Son always abound in works of faith, hope, and love in your service.
as morning breaks with sin and your mercy, Lord,
And night will find us proclaiming your fidelity.
Extol the greatness of our God. Give ear, O heavens, while I
While I
speak.
speak, let the earth hearken to the words of my mouth. May my instructions soak in like the rain, and my discourse permeate like the dew, like a downpour upon the grass, like a shower upon the crops.
O God, in the days of our God, the rock of all the deeds, how right are his ways, a faithful God we have to seek, how just and upright is he.
Yet
Basely has he been treated by his degenerate children, a perverse and crooked race. Is the Lord to be thus repaid by you, O stupid and foolish people? Is he not your Father who created you? Has he not made you and established you?
Think back on the days of old, reflect on the years of age upon age. Ask your father, and he will inform you. Ask your elders, and they will tell you.
when the
Most High assigned the nations their heritage. When he parceled out the descendants of Adam, he set up the boundaries of the peoples, after the number of the sons of God. While the Lord's own portion was Jacob, his hereditary share was Israel.
He found them in the wilderness, a wasteland of howling desert. He sheltered them in his land, guarding them as the apple of his eye.
as an
Eagle incites its nestling sport by hovering over its brood. So he spread his wings to receive them, and bore them up on his pinions. The Lord alone was their leader. No strange God was with them.
Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen.
Extol the greatness of our God.
How wonderful is your name, O Lord, in all creation. How great
Great is your name, O Lord our God, through all the earth.
Your majesty is praised above the heavens. On the lips of children and the babes, you have found praise before your name, to silence the foe of the enemy.
When
I see the heavens, the work of your hands, the moon and the stars which you arranged. What is man that you should keep him in mind, mortal man that you care for him?
Yet you have made him little less than God, with honor and honor upon him. Gave him power over the works of your hands, for all things under his feet.
All of them sheep and cattle, yes, even the savage beasts, birds of the air and fish, that make their way through the waters.
How great is your name, O Lord our God, through all the earth. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen.
Almighty Lord, how wonderful is your name. You have made every creature subject to you. Make us worthy to do your service.
How wonderful is your name, O Lord, in all creation.
Reading from the book of Isaiah. Wash yourselves clean. Put away your misdeeds from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do good. Make justice your aim. Redress the wrong. Hear the orphan's plea. Defend the widow. Come now, let us set things right, says the Lord. Though your sins be like scarlet, they may become white as snow. Though they be crimson red, they may become white as wool.
God himself will set me free from the hunter's snare.
God himself will set me free from the hunter's snare,
From those who would trap me with lying words.
and from the hunter's snare.
Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
God himself will set me free from Hunter's snare.
Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you, and no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as one of your sons.
Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel. He has come to his people and set them free. He has raised up for us a mighty Savior, born of the house of his servant David. Through his holy prophets he promised of old that he would save us from our enemies, from the hands of all who hate us. He promised to show mercy to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant.
This is the oath he swore to our father Abraham, to set us free from the hands of our enemies, free to worship him without fear, holy and righteous in his sight all the days of our life. You, my child, shall be called the prophet of the Most High, for you will go before the Lord to prepare his way, to give his people knowledge of salvation by the forgiveness of their sins. In the tender compassion of our God, the dawn from on high shall break upon us, to shine on those who dwell in darkness and the shadow of death, and to guide our feet into the way of peace. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen.
Father,
I have sinned against heaven and against you, and I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as one of your servants.
let us always and everywhere give thanks to Christ our Savior, and ask him with confidence.
Lord, help us with your grace.
May we keep our bodies pure as temples of the Holy Spirit.
Lord, help us with your grace.
May we offer ourselves this morning to the service of others, and do your will in all things throughout the day.
Lord, help us with your grace.
Teach us to seek the bread of everlasting life, the bread that is your gift.
Lord, help us with your grace.
May your mother, the refuge of sinners, pray for us, and gain for us your loving forgiveness.
Lord, help us with your grace.
Our Father,
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
O God, who grant us thy glorious healing remedies while still on earth, to be partakers of the things of heaven. Guide us, we pray, to this present hour, and bring us to that light in which you dwell. Through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever.
Amen.
Amen.
May the Lord bless us, protect us from all evil, and bring us to our rest.
Amen.
Part of the beauty, I think, of the Liturgy of the Hours is that you pray it when you have to, not when you want to. Right? Because there's a schedule, you don't get to say if you made a commitment. Well, I'm really tired, so I'm gonna pray morning prayer in a couple hours. This morning I was like, sweet, I'm gonna sleep in a little bit because we're praying morning prayer together, so I don't have to pray morning prayer in the morning. And I woke up and I'm brushing my teeth and I'm like, this is really lame. Like, I'm leading a retreat on prayer all day and I don't have 7 extra minutes so that I can say morning prayer in the actual morning instead of 3 hours later. So, every morning for twice a day, I felt like I was being a whip. But the Liturgy of the Hours punctuates your day in such a way that you have this commitment to prayer that keeps you praying even when it's not necessarily fun. And I think that's something that's very important in the life of prayer, that you make a commitment to prayer and you don't just pray when it's pleasant. Now, Catholics, we tend to be very good at checking off boxes, right? Like, you check off your Sunday Mass box, and maybe your daily rosary box, your daily confession every other week box, and then you think you've done what is required of you, and now you're finished. And there's a danger when you make a commitment to prayer that it's going to become legalistic, it's going to become something where you're just checking off the boxes, but there is pretty much a guarantee that if you don't make a commitment to daily prayer, that you're not going to pray. And I think you're better off praying out of a sense of obligation than not praying at all. And in my experience, if I'm not praying out of a sense of obligation, I'm often not praying at all. Right? Would you guys say that in your life that's the same? Is anybody like, I just love prayer every time, and I just like always want to be praying, and sometimes I take something from work so that I can just like sit in the adoration chapel for 6 hours, and like we're all like human beings in here. Awesome. Prayer can be fun. It can. It can be a really joyful thing. It can be something that feels really beautiful. We talked about this last night, those of you who came to our apologetics night. Prayer, I think, is better when it's not as fun. Right? Because you're not going to prayer because it feels good or because you really want to pray. You're going to prayer because it is good. You're saying to God, I value you and not the consolation that I get in prayer. And when you make a commitment to daily prayer, what you're saying to the Lord is, even when you're not convenient, even when I'm not feeling it, even when I'm really tired, I value you more than Hulu or Facebook or sitting around eating pork rinds and on purpose. Right? Whatever it is that you people do for fun in Cleveland. Or like going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and hanging out on the waterfront and all of the amazing things I'm sure that you have to do here. When we make that commitment to daily prayer, we're telling God, my life revolves around you. And if you look at what your life revolves around now, I would hazard a guess, for all of us, myself included, it's not necessarily God. It's not necessarily prayer. Consider what you spend the most amount of time with. Consider what you long for the most, right? You get out of work and you've been in this long meeting all day. Is your first thought, I want to spend some time with the Lord, or is your first thought Facebook? Right? Ask yourself, am I living a life that revolves around prayer? And if you're not, then the first step is to make those commitments. And Lent is a great time for it. Not that anybody has extra time during Lent. But it's easier, I think, sometimes to convince yourself. What we focus on during Lent is the passion. Right? And when you consider the sacrifice that the Lord made for you, and when you consider what He was willing to endure for you, in those 15 interminable minutes in adoration, I am a very sarcastic person, which sometimes gets me into trouble in the Midwest because I'm like East Coast sarcastic, and like sometimes in the Midwest when you like make comments to people, they like don't recognize the like East Coast in you. But I sometimes will hear people who are like, yeah, I don't know, like I don't want to go to that church because Mass there on Sundays is an hour, and if I go down the road, then I can go to a 45-minute Mass. And I'm like, yeah, because Jesus got down off the cross after an hour. You know, he was like, you know what? I have done my obligation. I have fulfilled my duty. I'm done. If we consider what the Lord has sacrificed for us, I think it's easier for us to endure the difficulties.